Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Punk Rock Review, home of a bunch of opinionated crap you don't care about, also the home of the feedback you provide that we don't care about, keeps us on an even playing field, and we like that. Real quick shout out to our sponsor, absolutely no one. Feel bad and give us money. Anyhow, moving straight into it today. Today we're going to be talking about something near and dear to our heart currently, man, in the video gaming industry. And of course, we are talking about we don't want 30 frames per second in next generation titles. So, we don't want 30 frames per second in next generation titles. What can be said about this one? Well, now, man, don't get it wrong on not wanting games, all right? Many games may not even, kind of necessitate 60 frames per second, and certain consoles may not require or even be able to actually hit, 60 frames per second. Looking at you, Switch. But in the games that are coming out that have not been optimized and not been finessed and not been given that, oomph to get it to the 60 frames per second, man, that, folks like us enjoy and appreciate, man, cranking something out at 30 frames per second and expecting us to want to, dive into it because it's a new game or, the next big title, offering and whatnot is just foolish. Now, you got games like the Gotham Knights that came out and whatnot that we were on board for getting. We were pseudo excited for getting. And then we found out or whatever, it's 30 frames per second. We're like, fuck that. We're not playing that bullshit. It could look however pretty it wants to be. We'll check it out on a deep sale or discount, man. But yeah, we ain't diving in that one on full price and everything. We don't need no 30 frames per second on a, undertaking now. If it can be modified, converted, formatted to afford 60 frames per second, whether you cut down on some of the external graphics or some of the shading or whatever the hell's bringing it to, eat up those frames that you could be getting on it and stuff as far as action or whatever on the screen. Not hitting 60 frames per second in a current next-gen offering or whatever. We want that next-gen offering. We want 60 frames per second. We want to be able to control our avatar on the screen of whatever game we're playing as efficiently as possible and as least frustratingly as possible. And if you get some choppy bullshit in 30 frames per second, it can actually, frustrate and infuriate you during little segments of stuff as simple as making jumps on shit or whatever. You go back and you play, Jedi Fallen Order and whatnot on, kind of the PS4 and the original Xbox and stuff. You get those parts where you're sliding down a hill and trying to jump off to the next, platform because there's a gap. So you're sliding down, you got to jump or whatever. 30 frames per second, it's not undoable to be able to hit that jump, man. But you know how much easier it is in 60 frames per second? Substantially. We don't want no 30 frames per second games making, their way on the horizon. And sure, if a game comes out and it's not optimized for it and stuff like that, good on the developers, good on fans of whoever might want to be looking into it and playing it and such like that. But it will be a factor that turns us off from, kind of voting with our wallets as far as what we're going to be buying. Now, you got games like Redfall coming out that also is said to be, coming in at 30 frames per second and whatnot. And that is definitely some very disheartening and sad news. However, with games like Redfall or whatever, even though we feel definitely needs that 60 frames per second, will we check this one out? Well, we are a little more likely to check it out, albeit, a little, reserved in doing such and whatnot because of the Game Pass offering that it brings to the table, man. So, we're not necessarily shelling out that $70 price tag on a new game to get a game in 30 frames per second. We're kind of just downloading it and, rocking it and stuff for what it offers or brings to the table. And we haven't decided yet. We might not even download that shit until they said or whatever, and they've stated that they will be, somewhere in the future coming out with a 60 frames per second update. Maybe we'll wait for that. But, at least with it being on Game Pass, it's not an additional kind of impact to our wallet for checking it out. If Gotham Knights were on there, same thing. If Gotham Knights were on there, we probably would have already downloaded it and played it, maybe even loved it and such. It's not like you can't enjoy and you can't love games that are 30 frames per second. However, in today's day and age, for developers to be cranking shit out, man, and have the opportunity to either delay and hit 60 frames, or, if they're just like, yeah, fuck it, we don't need to. We'll just, 30 frames per second. That's what you get. Man, not for us, not our cup of tea. We wants the frames and everything. So, there you go. We don't want 30 frames per second in next-gen releases and titles. Well, minus Switch, too, man. You can get games that are great without it and stuff. Breath of the Wild, man. Awesome game. That's irrelevant. We hope you know what we're talking about. Hi, Mom. Yeah, we don't want 30 frames per second in the new of the next generation, that comes. Gets a good old-fashioned sad face. Look how sad that face is, because they don't want 30 frames per second either. So there you go. That's it. Give us money. Have a good one. You probably didn't. We'll catch you next time. Probably won't.